you like haunts?
Yes.
Do you like immersive theater?
Yes.
Do you like escape rooms?
Yes.
What's the safe word?
My haunt life.
Hello and welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast. I'm Russell, and this is normally where Mike would say I'm Mike, except I'm on my own right now because Mike is out of town for work. I'm recording a quick introduction to what we're presenting here. Recently, specifically on August 3rd and 4th of this year, Midsummer Scream took over the Long Beach, California Convention Center. Midsummer Scream is a huge Halloween and haunt-focused convention that brings together just a huge variety of companies and fans, haunts, vendors, just a wide array of folks who are into the weird, spooky, creepy, and darkly wonderful stuff of life. There's classes, panels, mini haunts, shows, workshops, and panel discussions galore for everyone to take in and enjoy. For the second year in a row, Midsummer Scream asked Mike and I to come down and moderate one of their panels. This year, it was a panel called From Creep to the Willows and Beyond, JFI Productions. Now, Just Fix It Productions is a company that is known around the Southern California and Los Angeles area, definitely. They create a unique haunt every year called Creep in the Los Angeles area. And Creep is not just a jump scare type haunt experience. Just Fix It Productions create scenes that introduce you to fun, creepy, odd characters, and the scenes tend to linger and get under your skin. It's more about the world you're visiting rather than just scaring you and moving you through as fast as possible, which is what would happen in your traditional theme park style haunt. They have also created a show called The Willows, where it's an interactive multi-track experience where you actually go to the home of a family in mourning and you pay your respects alongside the family members. By the end of the night, you have learned more about that family, and you realize that they are so much more twisted than you think when you first arrive. Just Fix It Productions, it's a really creative company. They're helping to explore and define the current trends and what an immersive experience is and can be. Mike and I have both attended Creep since year one, and we've both attended the Willows a couple of times, exploring the various tracks. It was really fun to have a chance to talk to them in front of a rather enthusiastic group of Midsummer Scream attendees and fans. By the way, as you're listening to this, which is the panel conversation, there are a few points during the presentation we were able to show trailers or ads for some of the productions that they've done in the past. I left all of that audio in so you at least get the vibe of what the audience was seeing. I'd like to once again thank everyone who attended the panel. Thank you to Midsummer Scream for having us. And what you're hearing behind me is the music that was playing as the intro, and I am just going to let the panel conversation take over from here. From Creep to the Willows and Beyond, JFI Productions.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Midsummer Scream. The world of immersive theater is alive and well in Southern California, and JFI Productions is at the forefront of blending that medium with the haunted attraction industry as well, creating some of the most stunning theatrical and frightening experiences anywhere. From the Willows to Creep, this team is enjoying major success, and we are thrilled to welcome them today to talk about where they've been and where they're taking us. Please welcome to the stage, founder of JFI Productions, Justin Fix. Writer and Artistic Director for JFI, Daniel Montgomery. Artistic Director, David Ruzicka. Creative Supervisor and Choreographer, Stephanie Turek. Executive Producer and Partnership Director, J.T. Swierczek. And your hosts from My Haunt Life podcast, Russell Eaton and Mike Fontaine.
Hello, everyone. So, thank you for coming to this early panel. We have a quick question for all of you. We want to get to know you guys a little bit better. How many people here have gone to a creep show? Nice. All right, how many people in this room have been to the Willows? Okay, we're among friends, people. So, okay, we're going to start with a brief history of Creep, and I think the first thing we should possibly do is take a look at the trailer from last year. Yeah. So if we can play the Awake trailer from last year, who went to Awake? Excellent. So whenever you're ready, please play the trailer.
It was a great show. Anyway.
No. No, that's quite all right. Tell you what, interrupt us with the trailer when it's ready. So, Creep, if I remember correctly, started in 2015, correct? So, give us a brief answer to the question of like, how did it start? Right from the very beginning, what was the impetus? How did it begin?
Creep started. My dad got cancer. I was a really unfulfilled artist or actor living in Hollywood, and I went home to be with my dad for like 6 months, and I came back and I heard like my dad's bucket list, and so at the end of the day, my dad ended up passing like 2 years later, but I was like, wow, I'm 30 years old and I have a bucket list item of all this, and I was a weird kid. And I'm such a Halloween enthusiast, and I just had the urge to like produce and make a haunted house. So I literally wrangled like my best friends and like 10 other people the first year, and like our buddy had a warehouse, and we cast our cast off of Craigslist, and we kind of popped up this like immersive space, which was, at the end of the day, I just wanted to create a more theatrical haunt. And at the end of the day, what we ended up doing is spending more times in these rooms and developing these like really great vignettes and tableaus of just creepy shit that we really enjoyed. And then we got done after that, like 18, and I don't know how we got it done. It was all built with, like, for those of you guys came year one, my God, like, it was built with like duct tape and plastic tarp. Like, it was gorilla and nasty. And there was like really sharp shit, like, behind like tool benches.
Dangerous.
Like, yeah, it was nasty. And so that's how it started. And then we just got the urge, and we just wanted to continue to like push ourselves and like come from like a passion project to like actually land a business. And like it's been beautiful, because now I feel like we have all went from like just like wanting to do something from creativity, and that is what fuels us, and at the end of the day, like that's what continues and has blessed us to continue to do this work.
Now, Russell, how do you feel about those safety concerns?
I'm known as the safety nerd. I've worked haunts numerous years, and I'm always the guy running around in the weird colored vest going, that's too sharp. And you guys, we've talked privately at various venues and things like that. The oddest thing I heard about that first year, because Mike and I definitely both attended, I know people here attended, I walked out of that haunted house and someone said, those are the sexiest monsters I've ever seen in a haunted house. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure what that was. So that first year was Creep, and then you did Entry, Lore, Awake, and you've got House of Creep coming, but I was just told that the Awake trailer is ready, if we want to take a look at that real quick. Go.
And the sky is gray. And the sky is gray. I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA. California, on such a winter's day.
And they did join us.
Good memories. Something that I think anyone who's attended multiple productions of yours, including the Willows, which we'll get to a little bit in a little bit, movement is very important in your shows. And Stephanie, you've been on the team since the beginning, correct?
I have. Year one, I was making monsters out of garbage bags and running the door and the line that like went almost a mile long. So I was trying to keep the peace outside while everyone was performing on the inside. But
how's movement incorporated into the shows, like from your point of view?
So Justin has always been a big supporter of dance, and he brought me on kind of to explore how we can make movement interesting and scary and sexy. So in all of our shows, there's always a little something. And
What? Your question?
I just think that, like, for me, this is kind of like out of my comfort zone, especially for like horror stuff. So like to involve dance into horror is like something that I would never thought in a million years that I would do. But this is where my career has taken me, and I love it. It's very niche-y, but I love it.
Now, Creep has always had theatrics in it. It's always had horror. It's always been scary. The first Creep, in my opinion, was definitely more scary than theatrical. But throughout the years, I feel like it's gotten more theatrical. Is that a personal preference, or is that an influence from the surrounding LA scene?
I think that's something that innately that we always wanted to do. The first year we did Creep, it was just to see if it could work. And we truly didn't have any plan to continue it after the first year. It was just truly a bucket list, sort of like, let's just see if this can happen. But both Justin and I are actors and do a lot of theater and theater kids, and we knew we wanted to try and incorporate storytelling and a theatrical element into whatever it is that we were doing. And Justin and I remember we looked at each other Halloween night and said, let's do this again. So when we came back for year two, which was entry, we said, okay, well, we know we can do this. We know we did it. We know people came and enjoyed it. Let's put a little more of ourselves into it. The first year truly was really thrown together, and it was a total blast. But as we came to the second year, we were like, all right, let's try a little more storytelling and a little more of our true background and see what we can dig out of ourselves and just like throw into downtown LA and see what sticks for that. So when we came back with entry, it was twice as long, if not, the first year was 35 minutes and entry was an hour and 15 minutes and much, much bigger. And we were still sort of playing with the idea of a story. We originally said Creep year one was it what is a creep? And then year two was who is a creep? And so we created this sort of artist character that was the baseline for the story of that year. And it kind of spiraled into weirdness and madness, and it wasn't totally grounded in connective story as we got into the experience. But it was every show that we do and have created, we've tried to tie it more and more into story. And we love those sort of shocking, crazy moments that make no sense and that are just there to scare you and feel sexy and be weird. But it's exciting for us to tie that into an overarching narrative or theme. And that's something that's always been in our brain from the beginning. It's just something that's organically grown as we've gotten more experience.
So as this grows, you, JT, are more behind-the-scenes business aspect of the things. JT is also usually out in front whenever you go to these events. He's usually the welcoming guy who, like, now go to the weirdness. Talk about your role of helping nurture and helping this thing grow, because the LA scene has been so competitive over the last few years, and it's just like. If you can take us a little bit from where you've been, but also where you see this going as well.
Sure, that's a great question. For one, Justin and I started this at the beginning, obviously with our friends with 2 credit cards. So we figured, how do we not go into debt and make this work? So I think it was really important to us to create a business model that works. One of the things, I was new to this genre as well, and this world as well, but one thing that I was often told, not really even asked, but told is, we either make a really good show and know we're going to lose a lot of money, or we try to make a lot of money knowing that we're kind of sacrificing a good show. And that always baffled me, that one shouldn't be independent of the other. And so we kind of based 3 factors into kind of how we look at business, because I already know, one, it's all about your people. People are everything, and that's why I think the most important thing in the world is people. So number 1, I have 3 quick ones that I think that I would do that kind of are the basis of how I think for the team, and that is, 1, I always take talent over technology. I think technology is great and it does amazing things, but there's nothing that a human being can do to a human being that's better. So always invest in talent over that. I'd also say that anytime you're looking at ticket sales and stuff like that, and I'll keep it brief, we always base our sales, so if you guys are looking at doing things like that, on 70% ticket sales. That is our 100%. So if you're ever doing your budget and you're looking at what it could be, always do it on that. That way, if you're looking at 50 tickets a night and only 40 sell, instead of you looking at it like, oh, that's 10 we didn't sell, you're looking at it as that's 40 people we get to experience with, right? So always look at that. And then if you go over about 70%, then that's a bonus, right? And then third, and probably the most important thing to me, and I hope you guys have felt it, if you don't, come to me anytime, is we don't think of our company as just entertainment. We're a hospitality company as well. If you buy a ticket to our show, we want to take care of you. We want to make sure that you are treated like a guest. And I think those 3 things combined, along with the talent that these people have, has allowed us to just continue to grow and grow grassroots and really give that feeling back to our guests. And I think the final question to that is, where does that trajectory grow? Is just building on that, seeing how we can incorporate some of the ideas that some of our guests have given us and incorporate it into our new shows and elevate that story aspect, because we always want to differentiate ourselves. We always want to be reinventing, and we always want to be re-inspiring and over-delivering. So I think those are the key things that I work on backstage, because I already know they can do all the great creatives and do all that, but that guest experience is probably most important to me.
And with growth came the Willows. Honestly,
it was.
Do we have a clip?
Definitely.
I heard there's a clip.
Oh,
Do we have a clip? Yeah.
We may have a clip for the Willows. When you're ready, please play the clip for the Willows.
Let's have another question.
So what's the Willows?
David, how about the Willows?
Sure. So I got to join these lovely folks just in time for this show, which evolved a little bit in the course of us working on it. It actually was originally, when Justin talked to me about it, it was called So Clue at the time, and it was going to be a little bit different tone. That's right. So it evolved, and what it ended up becoming was you explore this mansion that is a character unto itself in the experience, and meet this unusual family called the Willows, who are sort of bringing you into a celebration of life. You don't quite know what that's about, and you start to get deeper and deeper into the evening and realize this family is a little bit unusual, and you spread throughout the house and discover just truly what lies underneath the family history of the Willows. And yeah, I mean, it is really the first chance to see. That was my entry into the Creep universe. And even though it's not technically Creep, in a lot of ways, the spirit of it is there's definitely an aesthetic thing that we can't escape. That's part of all of our shows.
And just to add to that a little bit, I think that if anyone, I'm sure people have seen Sleep No More in New York. It's awesome. It's brilliant. It's great. We wanted to take some of the elements of those shows that are big and really hone it down to small. Because I know when we went, what meant the most to us when we left, and what really left an impression is those like one-on-one things that we had that terrified me because I wasn't into scary stuff or horror. So I was like, but that's what left me with such a great impression. So how do we take that and just really only get 18 people in a room and make it really intimate and give everyone that feeling of like being present? And we notice every single guest that comes in, you'll not be a fly on the wall on that show. You are seen.
Go ahead.
The Willows is something that had multiple tracks. You could go like 3-4 times and still not get the same show. What sort of planning process goes into that and to make it so that all of those different things either don't intersect or purposely intersect?
That's a huge challenge, and something we just figured out by doing it. I write all our scripts, and as we started it by thinking about each character of the house and literally the house. So as David said, the house is a character, but it's also a map of where we can go. And so we started off with each character and developed kind of a crazy it was like an Excel spreadsheet at one point of locations and then timeline, and then the characters where they would be for how long. And I would write scenes that I felt like would be the same amount of time. And we had to split that up based on how many guests we wanted to go with which character and where, what was the action within that room and how long that would take. And it took some crazy sort of rehearsing. We actually, our first few rehearsals were not in the house. We were in a small sort of just rehearsal space in West Hollywood, and we just mapped out the house upstairs and downstairs with like pieces of paper where everything was. And then we kind of went through it and said, all right, we're 30 minutes in, where are you? For the actors. We're 40.
Candyland.
Yeah, we're 45 minutes. Where are you? And what I had to do was and we did the show for 3 seasons, and it evolved every time we did it. So there was a lot of trial and error along the way. But what I had to do was, all right, cool. I see that now that we've actually got it up on its feet, I know that this scene needs to stretch a little bit, or we need to tighten this up. And we happen to have an insane company of actors that are incredibly talented and know their characters inside and out. And we're able sort of with them to craft, like, if you need to go, like in the scripts, it's like, if you need 5 extra minutes, this is what you say, and this is where you go. And hopefully it'll get interrupted. And we were able to kind of figure out, like, where things need to be stretched and where things need to be taken down in order for us to like hit the right moments at the right times. And when it worked and when it started to work really well, it's like a machine. It just would be, what the exciting factor about that is, of course, the guests, because although our show is the same every time, the guests are never the same. So you have to acknowledge what's happening in front of you, and you have to use whatever you're given. And it is such an insane skill to have as a performer, to know I have 2 minutes and this person won't stop asking me questions, and I need to get 10 minutes worth of information out, and I have to do it right now, but I have to acknowledge that they're asking me these questions. So what's important? And I think we said the script is, at least for the Willows, was it 80% scripted and 20% improv? And it's fun. It's really fun. Like, it's part of the joy of doing it. It's sort of like the math problem of trying to figure it all out. And when it works so well. And when it doesn't, you just got to make it work.
There's just such a rhythm to hospitality, and the way that you can just structure and move a night, right? Move a group of people who come in at a show at 6:30, and by 8:30, their whole world has completely flipped. And I think there's a real rhythm to it, and there's a real pulse. And once you can kind of do the oohs and ahs, and you can kind of write the drama and the laughter, right? It all really ebb and flows, and it's really magic.
So I guess it's time to ask the big question.
Oh, I will say though, we wrote Willows took a long time to write, and then we had to rewrite it because we had the opportunity to shoot it on VR, and that was so cool. And it was so cool because I think at the end of the day, because we are in live entertainment, you never really know, like you don't have a true representation of like how the show would even come together, right? This immersive nature where you have this Lego land of people can go anywhere you want, so you can't really do a full shoot of like the whole arc of the story. It's always from one point of view. So the Willows VR was an opportunity for us to work with this amazing company called Amaze VR. And they were able to shoot the Willows, and I will tell you guys, like, it is on their platform. It's $2.99, and you can experience it, and you get to see. And there's like five different endings, and it's
like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's cool.
I would also say one quick thing that Justin reminded me of, which is that even once the show was like scripted, the other thing that's so responsive about the shows we do is that it still kept evolving from night to night, and we were adding little pieces and fine-tuning things and finding new moments of discovery. And even when the show came back in its most recent season, people could visit rooms they could never visit before. So it really was a living entity for us, and I think that was something we want to keep alive in future shows.
What systems or VR headsets is this available on?
I think we are available on the Oculus and the
Samsung Gear.
Yep, exactly.
Is that right? Yeah. Those two.
And if, in case somebody's wondering, because if you saw the show, yes, you do get choices. So if in the show, if you went upstairs and maybe not in the kitchen, it does ask you which side you want to go. So you do get to actually explore in the game as well, or in the, I guess it's not a game.
Yeah,
it's a
you
show.
can go on all the tracks. You just have to choose, and then based on the choices you choose is the ending you get. And there's some pretty insane endings.
And this is definitely not a personal question because I know there's definitely multiple people in the room that have a PSVR, but any plans to bring this to PlayStation VR?
As I think so. Is that what anybody said?
Yeah, I think when it all catches up with each other, you know.
I think it's really based on their technology, not on ours. I think they were waiting for something, on Amaze's backside to do it, and eventually we were told it will. We hope it will. We hope as many people get to see it as possible.
So, and by the way, the cool artwork that you've been seeing is the advertisement and the press photos for the VR experience is what we've been showing in the background. The obvious question, which I have already been asked the moment that this was announced on the website that this panel was happening, 2 people at work on the same day said, "Is the Willows coming back?"
Who wants to answer that?
Yeah.
I knew I was going to get that expression from Justin.
We never close the door on anything, but we have at this time no plans at the moment, but never say never. I think it's one of those things that this creative team is so fun to work with because they're constantly just thinking of new things. So for us, it's really about excitement of what's next and over-delivering in the next thing and where can we deliver, on that. And I think once we get that kind of going, you never say never. As of right now, there's not plans, but never say never. We certainly haven't shut the curtain on that, so to speak.
Well, wasn't the term "your forever family"?
Forever.
Yeah.
Anyone's been to the show,
That doesn't change.
you are.
So everyone stay tuned. Now, as the company has developed, you went through various forms of creep, and each year, and leading up into the Willows, one of the things I noticed about the work from haunt to haunt to haunt, and I'm speaking more specifically of creep, I think the shows kept getting denser and the stories kept getting more layers to them. And I always found that fascinating. And the first year, for those of you who went to the very first year of Creep, that final room when you actually started talking about mythology. And I had this wonderful realization where you're in a room and you start to realize that you're taking part in the development of the next urban myth. And it was a wonderful moment. And your work always has that. And The Willows is so incredibly dense about the family. And one of the things you walk away with is, what do the neighbors say about this family? And what are the rumors? And what do those noises mean to the neighbors at night? So your company has moved into another direction. And you're becoming very active in, there's so many terms, experiential marketing, pop-ups, immersive activations. and I'm sure you can name a few more. You've been involved with Lore. One of the Creep seasons was a tie-in with Amazon's Lore television show. And you've recently done Ma, and you were at the San Diego Comic-Con this year with American Horror Story, correct? Talk about those installations and how you bring your individual style to those.
Stephanie, well, you should talk about this because Stephanie's always said, like, being not a horror lover, she's always been like, how, like, we're just a bunch of creatives who have no money trying to make unbelievable things happen, and now studios have caught wind of really cool things that struggling artists are doing. And now we have built sort of an IP and a little reputation for ourselves because I think this is a forefront of a whole new way of storytelling and location-based entertainment. Like it's all moving, right? Like generation, is it Z? Yeah, like they're all
Z.
Yeah, they're all about like spending money on experiences, not about like consuming goods. Like that's what we all crave. And so I think with branding and marketing, I think you have to reach your audience different. I think that's why the It House is doing so well on Hollywood and Vine. Like, what a cool experience. Like, people crave that world. Like, why not give the fans, rather than a bunch of like celebrities and people for like a premiere, why not give it to us and like let us devour it and like love it and then put it out on our social media, because then the ROI naturally that all these big studios are seeing back.
Return on investment.
There you go. Daniel's learning all their words. Yes. And so, I think it's cool, and I think we have been able to we were doing, I think before it was immersive was really in the world. And now I think because we were using those words early on, and people are sort of naturally some really cool doors have opened for us.
And people had come to see the Willows, and they were like, "What is this?" Like, we need to do this. So when we partnered with Amazon, it was really basically they were like, "Yeah, just do that, but do it for our show." That's basically they were great, they were so nice, but like that's basically nobody knows what they're doing anywhere. So they basically said, we want you to just take what you're doing and just use the content from this, famous, popular podcast that will now be a TV show. And so we felt like that was a good match for us because, and we had already started working on Creep that year, and the themes that we had already written and had developed fit that already. So we thought, oh my gosh, this is a great fit. We'll just sort of pivot and then, sort of fine tune it and make it work. And that's what we ended up doing for Lore.
And what's really kind of fun about that is all of us in this room are kind of making that movement happen. I think when we go into a big studio like Amazon, a couple years ago, we would have been shaking our knees. Well, we were a little shaking our knees anyway when we went in. I mean, we're in a big studio. But, yeah, Daniel was fine. He was good. But, when they pitch us, like, why don't you do our premiere party? You know what I mean? And we kind of dug our feet in the sand and said, why don't we create your world, like Daniel mentioned, over this and kind of get your guests to experience something else. Like Justin mentioned, let normal people come through, not just your celebrities that get to go to premiere one night, and let's like make this a real interactive thing. And because of our guests and because of like this, studios started listening, and I think that's super important to say, just because everyone in this room is changing how the industry does it, and they're paying attention to what we're all doing in this room. So I think it's super important. And
just to add on to that, like all of you guys, like the haunt community, everyone is always down to play. Like everybody's like so active, and like, so for me, experiencing an audience like you guys, it was so exciting and so groundbreaking for me as a performer. So now that we kind of got this down, I'd like to reach people like me who, isn't a fan necessarily of horror or scary things, but give them an opportunity to enjoy it and play, because you guys kind of paved the way for it to be fun and cool. So I'd love to like reach more people, non-horror people like me, and realize that I actually do love horror. It's not just like chainsaws and blood all the time, which I know you guys like. But
people
like,
always think that's what it is,
but
which
it's
is great,
not
but
right. There's so much darkness in all of us, but it's actually like very beautiful. So I really enjoyed exploring that part of the haunt stuff.
Commenting on that, I am a theater nerd, totally, and I attend a lot of regular theater as well as immersive stuff, and I have found over the past couple of years, when I try to have the conversation that you're talking about, Stephanie, with normal theater people, I get so much pushback of, what do you mean they talk to me? No. It's like, what do you mean they can touch me? I'm like, no, it's like this. It's like to guide you, to give you a gift. That's why they're touching your elbow. Like, no. And I think it's an acknowledgement to the haunt community that I think it is the haunt community that embraced the immersive stuff, not first necessarily, because immersive theater has been actually going on for decades. Yeah. It's like, I jokingly tell people this. My first immersive theater experience I ever went to was in 1984. So it's like people have been doing this for a long time, but now it's a trend, now it's a movement. But I think something that's really strong about your work is the fact that I can point regular theater people to you guys, and you open the door rather than freak them out, even if it's a scary event, even if it's and I think the pop-up activations, like Lore, and you recently did Ma, and yeah, it's like we should definitely, we have, is it, it's not tied together, or is it two separate trailers? They're two separate. You want to just play them both? Okay, could you play the Lore and the Ma trailer, please?
Did anyone see Ma? Anyone see that movie? Oh, cool. And this will make sense.
Know that you're gonna get creeped out for sure. I don't think a single person broke the character, and that was fantastic.
I am in this. This is awesome.
Subscribe and watch more.
There's that advertisement. Drink alone. Don't make me drink alone.
You want to go home, but you can't stay
one thing that off of sort of the exact opposite of what you were saying, Russell, of like the theater people who don't come to immersive theater stuff like this, is I kind of love the fact that we're tricking regular people into going to theater. We're like, haha, you went to theater, you didn't even know it.
I've tried to trick many of my friends and convert them. So talk about that marriage of brand name with what you do for the immersive world. And also, out of curiosity, how long did it take to develop that? How much warning did you get from like the let's do this to the night that people walked into the party?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the toughest issue we always go against, because everything is so last minute, and for like a 6 to 4 week lead. And so, when you're working also, so you're trying to get these things in the shoot, but we try to push everything to like a 12-week production timeline. So at least it gives us a little time, because stuff gets crazy, right? And people are just like making changes last minute on scripts that were approved weeks before. So yeah, everything is really pretty tight, because it comes from a marketing side. Normally everything's just getting pulled from like a premiere budget. So until they, the film's in the can and they actually know, like with American Horror Story, I don't even think they knew what the show was about. No. When we got the job and we had to like write a script about it.
And then it changed once it was done, because they knew actually what the season was going to be about. So we had to switch everything very last minute, in order to accurately promote the show. Yeah, it is a challenge, sort of, because we don't have a lot of time. We always want to have so much time, but a lot of these sort of activations and pop-up events happen fast. They really are very fast, and we just roll with it and take the notes and try and make everything authentic and fun. And as JT always says, we try and just over-deliver, what they ask for.
I feel like these always work because the people that make them are into it. How soon, or I wouldn't say how soon, but what do you see the future of these activations like? You mentioned script changes and things like that. Having a creative company wanting to produce something they want to do, how much interference does the studio have? And how much creative control do they actually put on you?
I think it depends on the studio. With Amazon, we had very little adjustments that were made, and they were great to work with. They're relatively hands-off. And I think we submitted a script, and the note was change the font title. And I was like, that was the font you guys gave me. And it's a little bit of an exaggeration. There was a couple things, but it was relatively little. And then we just got done with American Horror Story, and that was very, very. There was a lot of notes on that, which we knew going in. We knew that was how it was going to be. So there was a lot of.
It's a really tight IP. So.
Yeah, totally. And we went into it with just happy to be working with them, and we also felt like American Horror Story was such a good fit for us, and it'd be this year's 80s horror slasher camp theme, and we just are all about that and absolutely love that. But it needs to fit what that brand is exactly, and when they are already sort of in production on the TV show, we just have to roll with it and accept those changes and make it work. And it ended up being, I think, such a total blast and such a huge success for us. And so sometimes it depends on the product, or it depends on what the show or story it is that they're trying to promote.
It's really cool too. Activations are one thing. You think like over the course of like working with your friends and like hiring over 90 actors over 5 years, you start to build like, we're like really our family. Like all of us have a really tight crowd, and it's allowed us to like, now we're like kind of like a staffing agency, so like people come to us and they're like, cool, we need like brand ambassadors, or like tonight we're producing this like really fun, beautiful, this woman wanted to recreate a Midnight in Paris. So we're like bringing in 15 iconic characters throughout history who are going to come and dine with like 100 people. And that's like another new wave of entertainment. They're like, we don't want a DJ. We don't want magicians. Like, what else could we do?
She'd come to the Willows.
Yeah. So I think it's really cool that people are seeing a new way to entertain their guests while at a bigger event.
So I think there's other companies in town that are kind of tapping into that as well, like the niche party scene. like the themed party theme is also becoming an activation tool that companies are more willing to go to. And also, I think you can cover probably more people in that than saying like a group going through Creep. So what's next?
House of Creep.
Nice segue.
We're back in downtown LA. We are back for season 5. So we went from like 60,000 square feet. Like honestly, Awake was massive and huge, down to 5,000 square feet. So we are making it work for you. So we're up against some odds, but we are forever grateful that we have a location, because I've been on these panels for the last 5 years, and it's the same issue. LA, we have an issue that is killing creatives and what opportunities that we can perform when we're getting outpriced, and like at the end of the day, we won't be able to do this work because nothing's permitted. They're not willing to work with you, and so we are fortunate enough to maintain a relationship with the Row, and they graciously had like one empty retail space that we are able to like go in at like a reduced rate, and so we're making it work because we needed a show, of course. We needed to come back, we're doing this awesome show called House of Creep, and we're selling it as a multi-sensory exhibit. It's like 75 minutes, explicit content, 21 and up. There will be a lounge incorporated this year, and it will be a really wild, weird, sexy time.
And if you pay attention to their website, I believe there is a date on the website for tickets.
August 15th, they go on sale. August 15th.
Which is soon, people.
Do we need to give a discount?
Oh, yeah, do it.
Y'all want a discount code?
Yeah.
It's Creep Fan, all caps, no spaces. Creep Fan.
Tickets on the 15th. Show opens on
Friday the 13th, September 13th. And we run through November, beginning of November.
So looking forward to it. So we are coming to the not the very end of our hour, but are you guys ready to face these people? Anyone have questions?
People?
Yeah, these people. These are our friends, our lovely people. So it's a Q&A section.
Bye. Just kidding. He's just grabbing some
So
stuff.
he's leaving. He can't take it anymore. So does anyone have questions for the Creep team? No.
I was actually just curious about space. So you were saying last year you had 60,000 square miles on the Earth.
I wish we had that. Are you kidding me? We could build a world.
Okay, one hell of an experience. So do you remember how the space you used for lore? How big was that?
That was 7,000.
And this is more like 5,800, so it's just like a little bit smaller. But the illusion will be different because in lore, if you remember, the ceiling was kind of right here in this particular space. We have about 35-foot, 40-foot ceilings, so it'll feel much bigger than the actual square footage. So walking through it, it actually doesn't feel small.
Yeah,
to me at all.
we just, the set's already been built, and the space already feels so much bigger than it looked without it. And what's exciting is, at least from our creative team, location and space inspires us. So just based on the location alone, we're like, this story's going to work here. Like, this feels like this would be here. So it kind of like speaks to us no matter what size.
And a little fun fact about lore, we'd gone and looking for spaces forever. We got a space. We started getting into the space, and then the city actually pulled the permit 3 weeks before we were supposed to open. So we got put in that space with 3 weeks to spare, and we did not. This is insider info. We did not tell Amazon that, and so we gave the tour to Amazon of kind of like picture this.
JT and I gave this tour.
Is happening, and then right over
they're
here,
like, where's
there's
this
gonna be
happening? And I was
this.
like, it's right here. And they're like, where are the woods? And I look at JT and I'm like, the woods are right there. And the guests will leave through that door.
I was like, and right now you're listening to the voice of this. And they're like, okay, we love it. We're like, good.
We're like, perfect. That's great. That's how we plan. I literally threw up that day, you guys. I threw up in the bathroom before that meeting because I was like, here we go. Everything's going to be fine.
We did it.
But then
Don't tell anyone.
everything that we said was going to be where it was there.
It was
We
there.
did it.
Well, the other thing too is like even for Awake, like that one, you know, when we even had our projection vendor and we were talking with them and meeting with them with the space, it was a completely different space than we ended up doing for Awake too. So it's just kind of a reality that we have to play with most of the time.
I really want to hear from the May Queen.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
About the space, but so she asked that, which is awesome. But what's the underlying theme for House of Creep?
Underlying theme for House of Creep.
Well, I'll let them take it, but I know that like the key factors are I always want to picture like an adult playground where you want to look at things, but you're probably not supposed to. So think provocative and a little wild and a little sexy. But why don't you take that?
I don't know how much to say.
Yeah, I'll just say this. If you go to creepla.com, there's a little synopsis and a little tease. I'm going to butcher it if I try to do it now. But basically, we're trying to, we're trying to find ourselves amongst the players like Museum of Ice Cream and Happy Place and Candytopia and I Like Scary Movies.
What would
and
a Creep version of that be?
Yeah, so we're like trying to say, cool, these rooms are grand and Instagrammable, but like, what if we forced you to put your phones away and really step outside that square
Is that all what
box?
we really want? I don't know.
No, like we
Well, you should
like,
come see how our version is that. What that might be
yeah,
like.
it's probably gonna be a little more weird.
Yeah, I hope things don't go terribly wrong.
Wow. And by the way, almost every one of those events that you named had major permit problems. So just
one of them.
So there was another question. Yeah, you had your hand up first, I think, and we skipped over you.
I was wondering if you had any advice on how creatives can get the job that you guys have, or like be on a team that you guys.
That's a great question, and I'll even let some of them talk about it. But one thing that I always think in building a company,
She's asking about how do you become part of a creative team like this? So,
because I get asked questions all the time of how did this happen and how did it become or whatever. I'm a huge proponent on the most important thing is your people. They get sick of me saying ecosystem all the time. We all know what an ecosystem is, but really it's basically one thing can't survive without the other. And you all have to be there for the same reasons. We have an amazing dancer and choreographer. We have an amazing artistic director. We have an incredible writer. We have incredible producers and directors and creators. But then also that goes for our crew and our team, which 3 of them are sitting right there. That's Ryan, Stephanie, and Bert right there. They're incredible helps to us, and if you've seen any of our posters and stuff like that, Stephanie is the artist. She's incredible. But it's really important to us to have the right people in place, and the magic of that is a lot of our team actually reached out to us and said, we want to get involved. This is what I can do. How can I help? And we are like big mamas that are just like, come on, now become kids and let's all like play and get weird together. And the opposite of that is true. There's been some really talented people that didn't really fit our ecosystem and maybe, mad respect, but no longer, in our journey. So we just keep that team super. So the final would be reach out to people that you really respect or shows that you like, or just look for any of them and just say, this is what I do and this is what I want to be a part of, and just really explore, because the worst that can happen is you move on to the next one, right? The best that can happen, you're in it. Yeah, come to ours.
Yeah.
Come to ours anytime. Info at JFI Productions.
And off of that, by the way, just like Justin was saying, that literally is how I got my start with Creep. I was like a theme park industry dork in Orlando, and I came out here and I think I actually introduced myself to Justin when he was in character during entry. And yeah, I mean, I think a really important thing for us that is kind of the reality of these shows, because we're so scrappy in everything we do, is that you really just have to be kind of down and be part of the team from the beginning. Like for me, like even though I'm certainly the furthest thing from a performer imaginable, like when we did the Willows, I ended up sort of being the door person, getting people into the van at the beginning for the very first season of it as a complete non-actor. But just us, we just jump in, build things, like Stephanie was saying, build things, stage manage. I jumped in and was stage manager for Lore sort of unexpectedly. So just getting in any little piece like that really does, it's proven, like the folks over there, that it continues to expand from year to year.
Yeah, you really just have to be down to like do whatever. And you won't find people who will be down to do whatever, and you kind of have to check your ego at the door. And like for me, I costume all the shows too. So like, it's everything that you see, even in the Willows. Like, who's making the food? We're making the food. Who's cleaning? We're cleaning the house.
Who painted the walls?
Yeah.
We painted all the walls.
Yeah. So it's like you have to be down, and I'm a choreographer, but I'm doing everything, and that's what you have to be down for.
Y'all, they put me in a dress and a hat, and I had to be Sierra Mist. So I mean, you can do. I actually loved it. I'm not gonna lie, I did love it. But you do. You have to be down for anything, for sure.
That's your standard Saturday night, isn't it?
That's Sunday afternoon. Sierra Mist.
All right.
Go ahead.
This might be a naive question. I haven't seen any of the shows, but I'm a little confused. What is Creep? Is it the title of a show, or is like The Willows still a Creep show? And if so, what's the difference between Creep and Just Fiction?
Good question.
We had a little power struggle because we built a brand before we built a company. So Creep was like our right? But then we didn't have a company because we only had Creep. So then we were like, so I opened up an LLC like at the start of this to be like, we need to have be proper or whatever. So Creep is sold as like kind of redefining the haunted house. The Willows is, I think, you need to look at it as a show under Just Fix It Productions now. So Creep happens to be its own thing, but it's also different every year. It has its own show title.
Yeah, Creep is different every year, but it's still called Creep every year.
So, but a different storyline every season, bigger, different, completely different world. The Willows is, I would say, like our second sort of bigger show under our Just Fix It brand, and that is The Willows, and that was an idea of like a takeoff a murder mystery dinner party.
So yeah, Creep, Haunted House, Willows, Murder Mystery, all under JFI.
Where was the sense of agency? I got to experience Willows. Thank you guys so much. It was fantastic. Where was the sense of agency in a lot of that? Because I felt like I, as a guest, still had a lot of responsibility in playing my part in the entire experience as well. You guys talk about where to dial that in, and what does that look like, say, throughout all of immersive theater? Like, where to dial that up, where to dial that back?
I think this whole immersive theater, I think the things that have been really working have all been dance-focused and centric, like all movement-based, no text, right? Because naturally then people can like kind of understand through movement what's going on, but also like move. And I think with us trying to do the Willows, like it was all a tracked model. And like we had never done anything like that. Like I'd never seen anything like that either. But we were like, how do you give people down certain lanes, but based upon if you were to come in and shake my hand as Lindsay and choose to go upstairs with me, then you basically got a golden ticket, and you had no idea that you were being thrown on a completely different track than you maybe would have not been assigned to prior.
Well, it's funny, too, because, like, I think for audiences of this stuff, you know, if you go to, everybody knows how to go sit in a movie theater and watch a movie, but immersive theater is still, every show you go into, the rules of the game are, like, a little bit different, and you're still trying to learn and process, and you're like, can I apply the rules of this other show I did 2 years ago to what I'm doing now? So, I mean, I think we spend a lot of time thinking about both the conscious and unconscious cues of how to let somebody know how to engage and how far they can go. So sometimes it's literally spelled out. Sometimes, like Justin said, it's just how somebody greets you, shakes your hand, the way that they look at you. You kind of start to percolate that into the experience as early as possible. So that hopefully for a guest, I don't spend the entire experience being confused about how much I'm supposed to engage.
And part of the umbrella of this entire concept of Creep and the Willows and JFI is we live in such a swipe left, swipe right society now that we want the focus of every story, every season to be human connection, and to where you forget that your phone's in your pocket and you're having that. And human connection doesn't happen by me just talking to you. It talks about both of us talking together and having that experience together. And so it's really important, and they do such a great job with our actors to listen just as much as they talk, and that interaction and that connection is what raises people's, you know, hair on their arms and stuff like that. And it's just like the focal point to, I think, every show that we do is to ensure that the guest is playing their part, because that's how you're going to get that human connection and that interaction.
Hi. I would love to hear maybe some examples of like happy collaborative accidents, whether from like a choreography or direction or a writing standpoint. I know it's not like traditional theater where there's a set preview and opening night, like it's done. And I know you said that things could change or evolve with the season, so I would love to hear like maybe how or you've discovered things together.
Did people hear that question? Yeah. All right.
Good question. Yeah.
Well, I think in immersive theater, just in general, like you have to be like really just off the cuff. Like for instance, like for lore, the doll. I was the dancing doll in the feather room. Yes.
Yes.
You know, that wasn't really a part of lore. You know, like it wasn't like it was. You know, kind of, but. We just kind of made it work, and especially in there, like we're just like, okay, let's throw some feathers, hang some dolls, Steph, just go. And as I did that role, like I started to actually feel like, oh, this does fit in here. Oh, if I move here, like, you know, that's just kind of what happens as an improv performer, and as you go, the story becomes more and more solid. And then you can just go off into these little branches of things that you didn't even know existed when you started with that character.
I think another good accident, if we remember the first season, which was, we're so blessed and grateful to have had this problem, but we didn't expect a line at all. And so the next year we thought, all right, we've got to figure out a way to keep people from standing in line and make it not feel like that. So we decided on a lounge experience to where guests would be kind of there, and they wouldn't be really realizing that while they're in that room, they're in line. They just don't realize it. But I don't think we anticipated that people loved the lounge. So we had an amazing dancer and Steph. We had people, and we kept adding kind of more characters into that room. And after the show,
everybody, all the actors wanted to be in the lounge.
Yeah,
They're
and
like,
after
"Can I
the
just
show,
go there for a little while.
People went after the show. They'd be like, "Oh, can we go back into the lounge?" And we're like, "Oh my gosh, that was kind of a beautiful accident," because it was kind of like a holding place at the beginning, but it turned into kind of an amazing little dark. Now we actually kind of want to open a lounge like that because it was fun.
I was just going to say, because I know we have 1 minute left, and I want to give away some T-shirts. Did everyone get a raffle ticket? If you didn't get a raffle ticket from Bert, grab a quick raffle ticket so we can be auctioneers. But speaking about the whole lounge environment, I will say this. This year is going to be really, really different for us.
Very different.
We're going whole open world. So this won't be tracked. This won't be guided. This will be all you, where you want to go in this space, the characters you want to spend your time with, what scenes you want to embark on. It's going to be your adult playground. And so we are very excited to try to maybe retailer our structure and our pulsed nature of the beast and could provide a bigger evening for everyone.
All right, anyone else need a raffle ticket? We have to be very, very fast about this. So can we go over a couple minutes? Is that possible?
Sweet.
Right. Thank you very much. Hurry up and get raffle tickets, and then we will do that as quickly as possible. Thank everyone for coming to this panel.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you. You guys can...
Also, yeah, we have I don't know if that's what you're going to say. Oh, yeah. We also have a booth in there. This is the first year we've ever come up with some fun merch and sweatshirts and hats and T-shirts
Crop
and
tops,
crops and
pop
all
sockets,
kinds of stuff.
sleep
And
masks,
there are
limited edition
Midsummer
prints,
Scream specials.
children's books. Not kidding about that.
We do.
2 types of T-shirts, 2 types of hats, postcards. What else do you want?
A bathing suit. We don't have that. We don't have that yet. It's coming.
1232, is that our booth?
Yeah, we're 1232.
1232.
No.
All right, let's pick some. Oh, we still have some more. I'm sorry.
So-
I don't know how this works. Don't we grab the other half of that? How does this
We have
work?
to. Bert has to give us the other tickets, and then we
Make
have to
up
pull
7 numbers.
So
We good? Everyone got it? Oh, here we go. Bert, you need
This is the T-shirt immersive experience.
yes. So,
Did all of you sign a waiver?
but
I wish I had one of those canning guns.
yeah.
Yeah.
We might shoot it past everyone if we had one of them.
Next time.
Do you
Were
want
you
another
about to say something, Mike?
What?
I thought you were about to say something, Mike.
I was going to say he has 2 guns already.
Oh.
Oh.
Mike's kind of joke.
Guns are guns.
So,
All right, here we go.
Steph, do you want to pick the
Stephanie,
winner?
why don't you do the...
Pick 3.
But do it like a dancer. Oh. Oh, wow.
do it like a dancer who's running out of time.
Yes, you're stressed, you're scared, but you're kind of turned on.
Okay, here's the first one. We're gonna do 3. We're gonna do 3 of these.
Okay. Does anybody have ticket 380134?
Yeah!
All right. Come on down.
Okay, next one.
Next one.
David, you're going to
Oh, I'm going to read this one. All right. Does anybody have 380-101?
Yeah, that's a lucky row right now.
Camp Crystal Lake over here. Yes, work.
Ooh, all right, 380-099. Yeah. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate
Come say hey.
you guys as well.
Thank you very much. Go out and support theater of any kind.
Any kind.
And that is that. Once again, Mike and I would like to thank Midsummer Scream for asking us down to moderate this panel. We had a great deal of fun. JFI Productions, it's a company that we really enjoy their work. And just to let you know, if you've never attended Midsummer Scream, it's a really fun experience. They've already announced their dates for next year, August 1st and 2nd, 2020. Their website is midsummerscream.org. And sincerely thank you to Just Fix It Productions, the team there. Thank you guys for everything that you do. We were so happy to moderate this panel with you. JT, Justin, Daniel, David, Stephanie, thank you so much. And if you want more information on JFI, please check out their website at jfiproductions.com. Check them out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at JFI Productions. If you would like more information specifically on House of Creep, the show that's coming this fall, look up creepla.com. You'll find a direct ticket link there, and you'll find out some information about the show, including a nifty description you should check out. And that basically wraps this up. So until next time, see ya.
Get out. We're done for now.